Welcome to the Right to Ignite podcast, where we talk to authors who are writing to ignite the next generation with a heart for the Lord. I'm Kyle Morgan.
And I'm Brenda Covert.
Now, Brenda, I have a question for you. Do you know why birds chirp?
Because God made them that way, of course.
Exactly. Our guest today asks that very question in her new board book, Hey There, Bluebird, Why Do You Chirp? Sue Irwin has written nature features, biographical, and how to craft articles for magazines such as Apple Seeds and Highlights for Children, as well as being a frequent contributor to Clubhouse and Clubhouse Junior. She is the author of award winning books for middle grade kids, including the nonfiction sports books Safety Stars and Breaking Through. Sue is also in charge of Write to Ignite's Time to Write, a monthly virtual hangout for writers. Sue, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me, Brenda and Kyle. I'm happy to be here.
We've talked to authors on the podcast about why fiction is important for kids and why stories, but I wanted to ask you why nonfiction is so important for kids, because some people kind of forget that there's nonfiction as well.
So, yes, I have always kind of been interested in writing nonfiction. And so why is it important for kids? Well, it's good for them to learn things about the world, right? Um, and and when it comes to nonfiction, it's not just giving them facts about things in nature or whatever. Um, there are things like how to craft articles, like I've written. That is a nonfiction thing. Quizzes and surveys and questionnaires that kids do enjoy. I know I enjoy them too. I think that's another way of teaching them something, but it's a fun way of doing it. So, and I think a lot of times in books, like there are nonfiction expository books that we can read where kids learn a lot of facts, but it's presented in an interesting way. But uh, uh, narrative nonfiction, it tells a story, and then kids walk away from that story, and they're more likely to remember the facts. And if they remember the character or the animal or whatever it is in the story. So yeah, it's just a it's it's informative. Kids are learning, but they can be inspired by nonfiction as well and entertained.
Yeah, I love that. I used to read tons of nonfiction books as long as it was about baseball. That was all I
Yes.
cared about.
Your new book that's coming out in
August.
August.
Yeah.
Hey there, Bluebird, why do you chirp? Is that considered fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction. Fiction.
But
Yeah.
are you going to tell the truth about why, why they chirp?
I still no. Um, Started out based on Psalm 145, verse 10, which says, "All your works will thank you, Lord, and your faithful followers will praise you." And so the child in the story asks the bluebird, "Why do you chirp?" And then it's a curious child. So the child moves on to 11 other animals and asks them why they make the sounds that they make. And then in the end, all of the animals and the child thank and praise God together. But I'll let you in on a little secret. A couple of years ago, this is how it kind of started. A good friend of mine is a teacher, and she told me how she challenged her class to memorize a passage of scripture every year. And that year, their task was to memorize Psalm 145. And to show my support for her, I thought, I'll join you. So when I got to the 10th verse, which I just told you, I imagined all the animals praising God and thanking him and wondered, why do they praise him? Or like, is there something specific that they thank him for? Um, so now for the secret. My friend knows about Hey There, Bluebird, but she doesn't know that the inspiration actually came from her. So I haven't yet decided whether I should or when I should tell her or how I should tell her. Like maybe when she sees the book for the first time, or maybe when I visit her class, or she might just find out after she listens to our conversation here.
It's like gonna be the secret's out.
That's right.
I love that. With your board book and with your different books and articles, I'm sure research, no matter what you're writing, research is a big part of writing. So, what are some of your go-to sources, and how do you make sure your sources are credible? Because especially nowadays, that's very hard to do.
Yes. Well, in some ways, I find it easier when I'm doing my research than it might have been years ago before we had the technology,
Yeah.
because my starting point is usually, well, sometimes books. If I'm writing about a person or an event, I'll read other books for adults often, and then at the mostly not kids' books to start with. Um, so I'll look in the back of the book because they list their sources there. And those are usually primary sources. So I'll um, look there and I'll see if I can track down those places. When I was writing my sports books, I contacted the Hockey Hall of Fame to
Mm.
find out more information about that, about hockey. And um, a lot of internet searches and at museums. I traveled uh, I actually went to a conference because my first book was about hockey safety. So it ultimately ended up focusing a lot on concussions.
Oh yeah.
So um, I went to a conference that was about concussions, and I actually met a couple of professional athletes there and was able to talk to them one-on-one because they were presenting at the conference. And museums too. Even if you can't go there because it might be hundreds of miles away, or in a different country altogether, you can often email them and get some information from them. And librarians are very helpful too.
That's really helpful. Yeah. The one day I spent like half a day on the internet trying to figure out whether or not these African Cape buffaloes had been found in Georgia in the Civil War, and most things said no, and there was a few that said yes, and so I had to cross-reference and
Yes.
trying to figure it out, and it took forever.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so if you can find, uh, it's always primary sources that publishers like, right? So if you can find a university that did a study on those buffaloes, then yeah, and you can go to that source, then that's really the best.
Yeah.
And but you're right, sometimes you do find information that conflicts, and then sometimes, like I know Annette Whipple has said this at the back of her book. She's actually said there was something like there was conflicting information that I found, and so this is the way I approached it or something. So yeah, that's a good point.
How do you decide whether an idea should become an article, a magazine feature, or a full-length book? Do you ever consider the publication first, or do you consider the idea first? And then how does that work?
That's a really good question. So, yes, usually I consider the publication first. So if I'm writing for Clubhouse Junior or Clubhouse, I know that they are looking for specific things. So then I will start my research and see what I can come up with for an idea that would fit their requirements. Though sometimes it starts with a title. So if I have a title and then I come up with an idea of a story to go with that title, uh, so I'm thinking of specifically of a middle grade book that I've written that started with a title, and then I thought of a person who his story totally fits that title. So then I wrote that as a middle grade because of the subject matter, and that was the same with the hockey books. I didn't start with a title for that, but like for my hockey book, it started off as my husband had told me about a professional hockey player that he used to write letters to. And this goalie used to write back to him. And so they had this, in the end, my husband had a collection of letters from this hockey goalie
Oh
giving him
wow.
tips on playing hockey. And I thought that was so neat. And I wanted to write that story for kids, but because of the nature of the subject, I knew again it would be right for middle grade. So it would be like a full book because he um, he was the first goalie to wear a mask professionally in hockey games. I mean, not professionally, regularly in hockey games. Yeah, I think it depends on the subject a lot of times, whether it's going to be. right for like which age it's going to be right for.
Yeah, that's so helpful because I'm sure some things you're looking at and you're going, well, there's not a lot to be said here. So that's probably, a shorter thing or an article, but there's a lot to uncover. So I'm sure that kind of, as you're doing your research, that kind of changes too.
Right. Yes. And then like with the Bluebird book, it just kind of came to me in rhyme. So that just fits a picture book. And that's how I presented it. But in the end, the publisher saw it as a board book. And now looking at it, I think it's right for a board book. But yeah, it was in my mind, it started off as a picture book, and I couldn't see it any other way. I definitely wouldn't like it's not something that a middle grade reader or a young adult reader would pick up and for fun.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Going from a picture book to a board book's a much smaller word count. So do you know like what the final word count of Bluebird is?
I think it's under 300 words, and
Wow.
that was very close to what it was when I submitted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I had deliberately written it so that I thought it would fit on 12 to 14 spreads, like 32 pages, and it works out to that number of spreads. So they didn't cut any animals, but my editor, who's brilliant, came up with the idea of rather than having a different animal every time you turn the page, the first page was one animal, the bird, and then the next page was a different animal, and then on the next spread it was two animals together. And so it went like that through the book, single animal, double, two animals, one animal, two animals. So I thought that was a great idea.
And kids will pick up on that rhythm too.
I think so. Yes.
So, skipping from books to magazines, many aspiring writers dream of publishing in magazines like Highlights and Clubhouse. What helped you break into those publications?
I had taken a course called, in the beginning of my writing journey, I had taken a course called Writing for Children for Publication. And in that course, my instructor said, if you want to get published, you should submit your work to magazines. And that's the easiest maybe way to break in. And he told us about Lucy Maud Montgomery, who had written Anne of Green Gables. She had started out by writing magazines. And I know Laura Sassy had started writing for magazines, and then she moved on to writing books, and a lot of others too, but I can't really think of the names off the top of my head. But so you asked how I got into that. So yeah, so he suggested like look them all up, any magazines that you want to uh, consider writing for, and follow their guidelines and submit to them. And so I had just heard on the radio a story about a little girl she was 10 at the time, but at when she was 6, she had seen a man eating like digging for food in a garbage can on the street. And that really struck her. And so she decided she wanted to do what she could when her mom explained, well, he's hungry and he doesn't have a home. That struck her, and she wanted to do something to make a difference. And so she set out to raise money for homeless people and raise awareness of the need for like their needs. So the radio report said uh, that she was in Toronto, and she was presenting to what she called big bosses. And so I thought, oh, that's an amazing story. And the reporter said she actually had the men and women there in tears. So, because it was such a touching story. And just at that time, I had been looking at the themes of Appleseeds magazine. And they said that one of their issues was going to be on the topic of helping others. So I submitted the letter, my query letter, and they liked it, and they published it, and it ended up being like a cover story.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So from there, it gave me the confidence to submit to others. And so I came up with an idea for a little craft, and I sent it into Highlights, and they liked it and published it. So every time I had a little success, I celebrated with a piece of chocolate, and then and then it gave me more confidence. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to submit now to publishers that publish books. And so even if I got a rejection letter, I celebrated everything. So more chocolate.
That's the secret to your success, right? Is chocolate.
But if you want something that's like fewer calories, stickers work too. I give myself stickers.
Well, gold stars.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah,
sound like a teacher.
I just yesterday I ran from the mailbox because I had an article published in the Idaho magazine, and so it finally
Oh,
came, and so I ran from the mailbox back to my house. I was like, I got it.
congratulations. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Yes. Brenda brought up you being a teacher. I was going to ask, how does being a former teacher help prepare you for writing for children?
Well, I worked most of my time as a special education teacher.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
First as a learning resource teacher, and then so I would pull small groups of kids from class and work with them if they were having difficulty with reading, usually, or other subjects. And then um, later, I spent probably about half of my time teaching deaf and hard of hearing children. So, and that was either one-on-one or in small groups again. And so we had fun just playing with language and talking about rhythm and rhyme. It immersed me in language and reading in children's literature.
Yeah.
Uh, and then also just the ability to talk about the books and listen to what they had to say too. So yeah, we're playing with language, which is
Yeah.
what we do when we write.
Exactly.
Well, I want to know what kind of books do reluctant readers tend to respond to most?
So again, my first couple of books, Safety Stars, which is the whole title is players who fought to make the hard-hitting game of professional hockey safer. And then Breaking Through, the whole title is Breaking Through Heroes in Canadian Women's Sport. Both of them are considered high-low books,
Mm,
so high interest, low vocabulary. They're really written for reluctant readers who are ages 12 and up. I think a lot of times reluctant readers, if we can get them interested in books that are all about the subjects that they're interested in, rather than saying, like, this is a good book for you to read, let them find a book that if they're interested in sports, that's what I had written.
Definitely.
yep, that was me. I didn't want
Yeah.
any book that wasn't about baseball. That was
Yeah.
all I
Yeah.
cared about.
So
I
yeah, so
have a I
go
have a
ahead.
friend that has taught special ed for many years, and this was her last year. And so, as they said goodbye, they were doing fist bumps, and each of her students had a wrist had it was either a wristband or written onto their hand. I can't remember. I saw the video. It didn't show faces, just it was what they wanted to be when they grew up. And there were 4 or 5 kids in that class that wrote down NFL players.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So they must like to read about the sports.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my mom would always try to get me to read anything else. I'm like, it's not about baseball. I don't care. So she was able to kind of say, okay, let's look at the science of baseball, or let's look at,
Yeah.
the history
Yeah.
of baseball and try to, customize it. So that worked.
Mhm.
She
And
tricked me.
That's some homeschool thinking there.
Yes.
but and then like as the kids become more confident in their own reading ability, then they might move on from just baseball to other subjects too. So
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
which I did. I did
yeah.
eventually. I wanted to ask you about the nonfiction path to publishing because it can look a little different than, fiction, whereas fiction you usually write your story, then you're trying to get it published. Nonfiction, you're sending proposals. Is that how it works?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
Can you
so typically I write a letter that just yeah, your typical query letter, where you maybe list a couple of comps or say, okay, this book is a cross between this and that. And then the proposal is several pages long, but you'll list definitely 3 to 5 comps, and they say that they should not be so comp stands for it's either comparable or competitive. So
Okay.
books that you would actually see on the shelves in the store or in the library that are similar to yours. So then those comps should not be older than 5 years. Like the newer, the better. And you don't want to compare your book to like a big seller. You want to say because everybody dreams of that, but
Yeah.
um, so you want to be realistic and then say, okay, so this book talks about baseball, but my book doesn't talk more about the rules. My book talks about the players, um, whatever. So like point out how yours is different, so similar enough so that they can see, okay, there's a market for this book, but different enough so that it kind of fills a gap that isn't yet filled.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then you'll talk about I'm trying to think. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to include. So like the hook. So uh, what is the book about, basically, in just a couple of lines, and then um, ideas for marketing, like where where would you get the support, or who would want to who is the audience for this book? Like, is it boys 12 and up, or is it reluctant readers, or yeah,
Hockey fans.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it can
right,
never
yeah.
be everybody.
No, that's right.
Everybody is the wrong answer.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to get more specific on that for sure.
Okay. Have you seen a shift over the years in what children are interested in reading?
From what I know, I think since COVID especially, kids are reading, I've heard, less or shorter works. So, like a middle
Mm.
grade book used to be a certain length of, like certain number of words, or yeah, number of pages, but they've reduced that word count over the years. And kids, I think, too, want books more with more pictures. And then there's graphic novels too that have come out,
Yeah.
telling similar stories but in fewer words. So. Um, so
Hmm.
that's one big way I think it's changed in terms of what kids are reading. And then picture books too, 500 words they say max for fiction, and then for nonfiction you have more leeway. So like they say 1,000 or 1,200 words usually or under.
Yeah. And what's amazing to me is if you find an old classic, you find some old books from the 50s, 60s, 70s, there are so many words in there. It's like I
Yes.
know they're more than 1,000 words, and
Yes.
they don't publish that kind anymore.
No, no, you're right. And then for what's kind of fun about nonfiction is even if you have an idea for way more than that, it's okay. You can take it out of there and put it in the back matter. And
Oh
teachers and
yeah.
librarians love back matter, and that's really,
Homeschoolers love back matter too.
yeah, yeah. It's fun for curious kids, you know? So it's fun. So that's one way you can get around and be under the maximum word count and provide something extra for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about time to write. Can you explain what that is and how that came about?
Sure. So twice a month, we have a time to write session. And so a group of people get together and we write alongside each other for 45 minutes, uninterrupted, independent writing time. So everyone brings their own project at whatever stage it's at. And we start off with a word of prayer, and then we go into our reading session. And then we break with just for about 5 or 10 minutes in between, just to kind of catch our breath and then get back into writing again. And so we meet the first Thursday night of every month and the third Monday morning of every month. And it's usually a different group of people that come out because of just schedules. But I think everyone finds it helpful in terms of being productive because it's dedicated writing time where we just focus on our writing, and it helps us, I think, reach our writing goals. So,
Yeah, I know if it wasn't for my critique group, I don't think I would have finished my manuscript. I had that
yes, yeah,
accountability.
yes.
So is there any talking, or you just can see each other bent over your papers writing?
We actually,
It's
there's
accountability for sure.
yeah, during that writing time, I put up a timer so everybody can see the timer counting down, and then but pretty much everybody turns off their camera and their microphone, and then it's uninterrupted. So
Oh,
yeah, I've been to a couple. So this is kind of where it started. I had the idea from attending a couple of others, and they have played music in the background. But uh, personally, I'm not overly great with technology, so I've tried it, and nobody could hear the music anyways. So it's just quiet. And then that way, if you're muted, you can turn on if you find certain kind of music inspiring or helps you focus, then you can listen to it yourself. And but yeah, nobody else can hear it.
Yeah, I don't mind writing to music, but it's only two tracks from a Lone Ranger movie played over and over and over. So it's just background and it's like the same 5 minutes of music just over and over and over to where it's just in the background. I don't know why, but it's worked.
Yeah, and
Um,
usually I write in silence, but not always. Like sometimes it depends on what I'm writing. So I was writing a book that is coming out next year called What's Heaven Like? And during that, I listened to the song, and I can't remember the title, but by Keith and Kristen Getty about heaven.
yeah, I don't
So I
remember what
had
that one
that
is.
playing a few times. Yeah, I can't. It's not coming to my mind right now. But
We'll
yeah.
put it in
So
the
that
show
and
notes.
okay, yeah, yeah. And then when I was writing my sports books, I was listening to like some of the songs that they play at sports stadiums, and or just some faster music. So that
Yeah.
kind of like if I'm trying to write fast or have my like what I have on paper fast, then I try to listen to faster music. And um, but yeah, very often it's silent.
And so piggybacking on that,
so
oh no, it's your turn, isn't it, Brenda?
it is my
Yes.
turn, and I am ready and waiting. So how have you benefited from your involvement with other members in the writing community beyond the time to write?
Okay, so I found my critique group is so inspiring and so good for me. So at first, I do belong to a couple of different organizations, writing organizations, and I try to take advantage of every learning opportunity that I can. But the monthly meetings with my critique group is one of my favorite meetings of the month. Um, or favorite evenings, because everyone in the group writes
Mm.
different things. And you would think that, like a picture book writer, it would be best for me if I had a group of picture book writers. But one writes picture books, and another writes Bible story retellings. Another person writes middle grade devotions. Another one writes personal memoirs. And a couple are teachers. So everyone looks at our manuscripts through their own lens, and they provide valuable feedback on how to improve my work. And they're so kind and encouraging. Um, Before I joined the critique group, I was really hesitant to join any critique group, really for two reasons. I had had all my work published without the help of a critique group, and I was really reluctant to share my work with anyone until I felt it was as close to perfect as I could get it. Uh, but so many other authors had raved about how helpful their critique group partners were. Um, so I thought I'd give it a try. And sure enough, after my very first night, I came away with great ideas on how to improve my manuscript. And I discovered that critiquing others' work helps me improve my writing too. So since that first night, I haven't looked back. And through the month, we when we have happy news to share, we cheer each other on and we celebrate together. And it's comforting to know too that we're praying for each other. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I love my critique
Yeah,
group
there's a
too.
lot of support and encouragement.
Yes. Yes.
I guess that kind of answers my question of what is something about writing that you wish you had known sooner. I guess joining
Yes.
joining critique groups.
Yes.
I wanted to ask on your website, you talk about author visits. And
Yes.
so let's say you're doing an author visit for the Bluebird book. It's a board book, so you could probably read it in a few minutes. So how do you turn that into a full author visit? Like what are some tips that you've learned along the way?
Oh, that's a good question because I haven't actually done any author visits for Bluebird because it's not out yet.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so most of my presentations and author visits have been with middle grade. Um, what we do, or what I've done typically with those groups is, and I would do this with the other one, the younger ones too, is read a passage from the book. But for Bluebird, I could, like you said, I could read the whole
Yeah.
thing, and I would, and I would try to engage them by getting them involved because it's because of the repetition in the book and the rhyme, it's predictable, and I think they'd be able to like fill in the blank if I just stopped.
Yeah.
Um, so they would feel like they were actually reading. Um, and then afterwards, I always make sure that there's time for questions and answers. So it's amazing the questions that kids come up with, and that's I think is it's fun because you get some wild questions. But yeah, it's really good, and so that way that they feel like they're involved and they're not just listening to some person talk on the screen or talk to them in their class. I mean, I could do like a little game with them because there is a game, but it depends on like if it's a large group, that's not as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get it started and definitely hard to end it.
Yes.
Okay, well, here's a question that you may know the answer to as having been a teacher, maybe not as an author, because all of us authors wish we had the answer to this question. What makes a children's book memorable enough so that kids want to revisit it again and again?
Right. And you're right. That's something that we all want to have happen, right? We want kids to ask for that book every night. We want parents to and look forward to reading that book again too. So what is it that makes a book
Yes.
memorable? I think again, like playing
Mm.
with language makes it fun. If it's a fun book, like if it's lyrical, if it has rhyme, the repetition, and then rhythm too, especially for little ones. Even if it doesn't rhyme, if it's got a rhythm, it's like a song. And that's something that I've heard an editor say. Every picture book is like a song that the adult performs with to their audience. And so I think that's something that kids can really enjoy and the parents enjoy too, because who doesn't want to, you know, have fun performing?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that leads to my last question, which is who is an author that you love what they're doing right now? Could be picture book, could be, something else.
Okay, so I've got a bunch of authors that I really admire.
Yes, it can be plural. It doesn't have to be a single.
Okay. Okay, so one that comes to my mind right off the top of my head is Valerie Ellis. She has written picture books. Um, the one that I'm thinking of that I love is called Let's Go Bible Adventures. And then it's real Bible stories for kids who love trains, tractors, ice cream trucks, and more.
I've heard of
And
that one.
oh, it's so good. I think there's like 50 stories in it,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
a picture book though, but it's thick. So it's fun and it's just amazing. And then I also like Jennifer, I think it's Jahn, Jahn. She has a debut board book out, just released, and then a picture book coming next year. Tina Choate, she
Mm.
writes for both the general and the Christian market, and she writes picture book series and she's done a middle grade graphic novel.
Yeah.
Chelsea Tornetto is another one. She writes for both Christian and general market, and she does great rhyming picture books. And then Bitsy Kemper, she writes for both general and Christian books. And I don't know if you know this one, but if you go to her website, she's amazing. Like if you just read her, she's an amazing writer for adults too.
Mm.
Um, and on her website, she lists publishers that accept unagented submissions.
Oh,
So
nice.
tons of yeah, there's a ton of information that she has on her website. It's worth checking out. But those are my top four or five.
I love that.
If you could spend one day inside any children's book world, which would you choose? And would it be Nancy Drew?
Oh, did, did you see that on my website?
I did.
Yeah, you know what? So if I'm going back to my childhood and reading, going into one of those, yes,
Any children's book you would like to spend a day in.
I think it would be really good fun to be a friend of Nancy Drew's. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm curious, and I the very first thing I ever like wrote was with it was I attempted to write a Nancy Drew type of book, a mystery.
So
Um,
fan fiction.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think that might be it. I'm just trying to think of any other more recent books. No, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Nothing can top Nancy Drew.
Yeah, she's the best.
Well, I don't know. I would argue that Trixie Belden is up there, but she was a little bit younger than Nancy. Couldn't drive a car, but she could ride a horse.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this, Sue.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. And Sue was gracious enough to offer a giveaway of her new board book, Hey There, Bluebird, Why Do You Chirp? Be sure to check out Right to Ignite on social media to learn how to enter. Thank you for listening to this month's episode. I hope you tune in to the next one. In the meantime, keep writing and igniting those hearts. Yes, thank you so much, Sue. This was fun.
Thank you.